guys. Today we will start off with the configuration of the two-node Citrix delivery controller, which we installed in our last video. I'm just logging on to the first delivery controller, which is CVAD DDC01, and on that box, I will go ahead and open up Citrix Studio. Once the console opens up, you will be provided with a couple of options to normally start up with the Citrix Studio site configuration. As this is a brand new install, we would like to go ahead and deliver an application and desktop to your users. So we'll be clicking on that option. If I already had a site configured, I would normally go ahead and use this option, which is connect this delivery controller to an existing site. We will be using that option on the second node. And lastly, if we had some remote PCs to manage, we you will go ahead and use that one. But in the most relevant scenarios for any of your organization, we would go ahead and click the option where it says deliver application and desktop to users. So I'm going ahead and clicking on that option. Let's give it a name. So that's the name of the site. Remember, to always make sure you have an appropriate name depending on the organization or depending on your data centers where you're normally going ahead and normally creating them. But as for my lab, I'll just use the default name UVTech and click on next. Now, this is the option where we already have got an existing SQL server installed in our environment. So I will be pointing out all of these three databases. So what Citrix will normally do is it will create three different databases. It will create a site database, a monitoring, and a logging database. So in the locations, I'm just going to provide the name of the SQL server of ours. You also have an option of generating the scripts manually. So let's say, for example, if you do not have rights and permission to normally run these or create the database, you can normally pre-populate and create those scripts manually and provide them to your database administrator. But in this case, I have full access to the SQL server that we're connecting to. So I'll click on the first option and click on next. At this time, it will normally go ahead and validate the database details. So as you can see that the databases have been validated and it comes up to the next stage, which is the licensing server. So it will ask you to normally provide in the name of your licensing server. So we'll use the free 30 days trial license and we can add the license later. So I'll leave the step as it is. I'll just connect to my CVAD LIC01 server, but I do not have any licenses installed on it. But I'll just connect to the box and click on confirm. And it will try and check and see if the licenses are there. So I'll use a couple of my old licenses that I already have in there at the moment. And I'll click on next. Now in here, this is the connection settings, the hosting settings. Now this would depend on what specific hypervisor you have normally deployed or in your organization. It could either be Zen server, it could be a Microsoft System Center Virtual Machine Manager, which is Hyper-V, or it could either be VMware vSphere. Or if you don't want to select any machine management, you can just go ahead and click on no machine management. But at this stage, I would normally go ahead and click Zen server because I would like to provide the details of my Zen server in there. So I'll go ahead and punch in all my details. After punching all of my details of my Zen server, I will click on next. I'll make sure that the provisioning tool is set to MCS and click on next. In the storage, in most of the cases, if you're a production environment, you would normally use a shared storage location like your own SAN or your Nutanix SAN or a flash SAN that you normally have. But in my state, in this lab, I'm just using my storage, which is local to my hypervisor, which is Zen server, and I'll click next. I'll be selecting Citrix as my storage option. That's where I'll normally be creating my MCS images on that specific storage. I'll click next. Just give it a appropriate name for the networks. Lab network, and I'll click on network O because I know that's where it allows my routing. I don't have an AppV publishing environment, so I'll keep that unticked. But if you do have an AppV environment, you can always check that option, which will allow you to normally integrate any of your packages into the Citrix Studio environment. So I'll leave that as unticked and click on next. And I will go ahead and finish the wizard. So at this stage, what would happen is all of the databases would normally be created, and we can also test it once those databases are successfully created on our CVAD SQL01 box. So if I go on that box and maybe after some time, if I do a refresh, I should be able to see few new databases that gets created from my DDC01 box. So you can see that it's creating the database right now, which is the first site database. There are three databases that it will select, that would create. One would be the site, one would be monitoring, and the other one and would be the logging database. As you can normally see that it's verifying the connectivity to the database uh, from this specific box. I guess if I go back on my SQL box and I do a refresh, hopefully I should be able to see the databases that it has created. There you go. As you can see, it's created three fresh new databases. One is a logging, monitoring, and site. I'll go back on DDC01. I'll let this wizard complete. Once it's completed, I will come back with a wizard where the database have been successfully created and all of the services are configured successfully. So as you can see, the site has been completed and the studio has launched in, and you can see at the moment there's only one controller that's been set up, which is DDC01. What we're going to do is I'm going to close the console of Citrix Studio. I'll exit out of it and I will jump on DDC02 and we'll try to launch Studio on this box and try to join to the existing site which has just been configured. So you can see that the Citrix Studio console has just started, and in this option we will normally be using the option of scale your deployment option, where we'll connect this delivery controller to an existing site which we have already created. So I'll go ahead and click on that option and I'll enter the name of the FQDN name of the controller which we have configured, and I'll go ahead and click on OK. At this time, Studio will also update the database automatically, which means that it will make sure that the entry for this specific machine is added into the databases that are being created. As you can see that the Studio has launched successfully on DDC02 as well. And you'll be able to see that both of the controllers are a part of this one specific site, which is UBTech. That's it for this video. I would normally be talking a bit more about the web component of this. I'll make another series out of it because there is a bit more to normally talk about it and things to normally configure in that. But in the next series, we will start off with load balancing the Citrix delivery controllers, which we just installed on a NetScaler. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Hasta la vista from Citrix Sage. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.